Hey everyone, today we're gonna play a new visual novel called Love, Death and Veggies. Probably got the reference. The second story will take us to the distant future, to a world where we reach other planets. Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for the second story and I will choose warming her cold palms with my breath. Okay. Sounds romantic, I guess. Okay. Lana woke in silence, quickly jumped up and got dressed. Wait, why is it so quiet? There's not the usual get up, honey. It's time to go to school. Yes, you can have a few more minutes to lie down, but don't fall asleep, otherwise you'll be late. Did something happen? Is the clock broken? No, that can't be. It's shockproof, waterproof, and has a harmless personality, meaning it won't get upset at anything. She chose the personality traits herself after all. Okay, I'm confused. What does that supposed to mean? How many times had she thrown it into the wall or dropped it in the aquarium and the clock only sighed badly and continued to perform its duties? It demanded that she go have breakfast and get ready for school. But now, it's fallen silent all of a sudden. Alarm clock, why are you silent? Are you okay? Alarm clock, wait, is actually alarm clock talking to her? Everything is okay, it's not like something could happen to me. I have a very sturdy case after all, along with nerves of steel. Lana exhaled with relief, but immediately became alert again. Why didn't you wake me up? I'm going to oversleep and miss school. Well, go on then. A good, long sleep is good for your health. Alarm clock, are you out of your mind? What about class? What about them? Yesterday was the last day. Stop letting your conscience eat away at you. Go with a sandwich instead. Lana looked at the sandwiches on the plate left on the table by her caring mother, and her stomach growled. Then the meaning of what the alarm clock said finally made sense in her still sleepy mind. The last day. Oh, you bastard! You couldn't tell me right away? I completely forgot about that. Okay, why the hell alarm clock is talking? Okay, this is some futuristic world. That's what you get for throwing me against the wall all these years. I'm a tough guy, but it still hurts, you know. Right here. It's a cute clock though. Hurts? What's wrong with alarm clocks? Why do they behave like this? Oh yeah, Lana graduated from college and the course is finished, so the clock settings went back to default ones. And they turned out to be grumpy and touchy. Who would have thought? Although Lana really liked these changes. It turns out that being surrounded by submissive, patient things makes for a rather boring life. However, a quarrel with your alarm clock every morning isn't very nice either. And in general, why does he act like this? He's just an alarm clock. He doesn't even have a full-fledged intellect. That's forbidden by the old, earthly law of complete intelligence of machines. Yeah, okay, this is the future. Don't grumble, enjoy your vacation. Soon I will enter the higher colonial courses and you will fly into the wall again, you little complainer. The clock sighed again, just like before, fell silent. Lana went to take a shower. The heat was unbearable, however, it's always like that. The technicians have reduced the load on the air conditioners again. After several generations, all the equipment at the orbital station has worn out. Replacing individual parts didn't help very much. The era of the final colonization of Earth 4 was approaching. Can they make up some better names? Earth 2, Earth 3, Earth 4? I wonder how many more numbered planets have been colonized while the station hangs in Earth 4's orbit as it waits to get terraformed. No one will know until the flickering hyperchannel opens, so the colonists live at the station waiting for the almost century-old process of terraforming to be completed, learning how to survive in a new place, and suffering from the heat. Okay, so this is like I see what's going on. At least I hope so. They basically on a space station near next Earth planet, and they're waiting for it to become suitable for life. Oh, this heat. As long as Lana could remember, the temperature at the station was slowly rising. All her life, she dreamed of freezing, at least a little, but she couldn't even have a cold shower because it was regulated automatically. Her parents were away. They leave for work very early and return late. The station required constant supervision and continuous maintenance. After all, life in space is a pretty dangerous thing. Okay, from the beginning I didn't think it was going to space. But yeah, probably if you notice, maybe this give it away. For some reason, the chance of being part of a new batch of settlers scared Lana more than the possibility of some incident here on the station, but she didn't tell anyone about her fears. Because this was the purpose and meaning of life for every colonist, every inhabitant of the station, to be born in space, under a dome portraying the earthly sky, which none of the people living there has ever seen. But all this, the station, the dome, the disk of the planet, was familiar since birth. The distant, ancestral Earth seemed like some fairy tale. For Lana, that world has always been just lines in a textbook. Oh, Karen, are you stuck again? Where's your reset button? Lana woke up from her thoughts and almost dropped her sandwich when a friend, who somehow found herself in the room, poked her with her finger in the stomach. What a pest! Can people react calmly? It's not a button. Stop poking me in the navel. Is that so? Where's your button then? I'm going to find it. Oh, how many options there are. Oh, how many of them are under your clothes. Okay, dude. Oh. Okay. Lana jumped up, dropped the sandwich, and ran away with a squeal. Karen rushed after her, spreading her fingers, ready to press all the supposed buttons on her friend's body. In my opinion, there aren't too many options, although, wherever you poke, everything will end with a squeal. I make less noise when I wake up in the morning. Oh man, when your alarm clock actually roasts you. The alarm clock muttered this softly to itself, but no one listened to it or heard it. Stop it, I'm already up and running, don't press anything, aha, leave me alone! Ah man, the friendship. But Karen had already knocked her friend on the floor and began to tickle her. The holidays before the admission to higher courses promised to be fun, albeit short-lived. The zoom though. Zoom in. The bag on Martin's head was dusty. Where did they get one? Cleaning robots cleaned every inch of the premises, and there was soil on the street, and granulometric composition of which allowed only minimal dust formation. He immediately realized what had happened. It was all coming to this. It was his own fault. Although he took all necessary measures to prevent the abduction, it still happened. And now his life was hanging by a thread. Okay. We have another character, another hero, what's going on? However, it was too early to panic. If he was to fulfill all the demands of the kidnappers, then everything could work out. Martin stretched his stiff arm and pulled the bag off his head. He sneezed and opened his eyes. He's in the city park. Okay, I mean, this is a place where you can be kidnapped, but not a place someone can keep you there. What's going on? It was early in the morning. There were no people around yet, but daytime mode has already turned on at the station. A looped animation of clouds floated lazily across the dome overhead. Rummaging through his pockets, he found what he expected to find. Real paper. All according to tradition. A photo showing him, Martin, lying with his eyes closed, hugging a huge bottle of Synthagol, wearing only a bow tie. Everything just as you'd expect, a clue that would give him a wolf ticket away to the lower decks, and not to the higher courses of the colonists. Those bastards. Bastards, bastards, bastards! I am so confused. He has never drunk alcohol in his life, and he didn't commit any immoral acts either. All his life he was readying himself to land on the planet. No one wanted to get out of the station as much as he did, and now he was kidnapped, stunned, and they made staged pictures. Okay, Martin knew that this was inevitable, but until the last moment he hoped that he would be able to avoid all this. He avoided deserted places, did not communicate with anyone, and did not trust anyone. But since he was the best at everything, it was destined to happen. He tore the photo into small pieces and fed it to a bouncing robotic trash bin. It gargled and belched. An idiotic gimmick made for children who understand only primitive jokes. Idiotic traditions of kidnapping. Stupid station! Martin growled helplessly, but pulled himself together and tried to calm down. He has studied the matter. He knows what needs to be done. He will cope. Now he needs to go home to check on his father. It had been so awesome to get to the glitter now so he could get there in a minute. But too late, the flying transports were no longer valid at the station. They were extremely dangerous here. You could only use them on the surface of the planet. Martin reassessed the situation and moved towards his home. Yes, he tore up the photo, but it was only a copy. Where did a rival college baseball team manage to get an ancient camera? Okay, this is like salad of what's going on. Now he needed to find the film, but that can't be done without committing illegal actions, and Martin couldn't afford that. He needs to comply with all their demands. Stupid traditions. He had read old books and knew that on Earth, graduates stole the mascot of the opposing team and not the best player like now. What kind of cretin messed everything up? And the best in technical college was him, Martin. In order to have guaranteed admission to higher courses, he must be the best in everything, in sports, academic disciplines, and even in art. And Martin was the one. Damn it. At home, he made sure that his father did not notice his absence and, as usual, was sleeping it off. Okay, I guess he loves his anime. Martin took a shower, had breakfast, and sat down with his textbooks. His vision was still blurry, but he didn't want to waste time. After all, he still didn't know how long he should wait for a message with demands from the kidnappers. It's better to do something useful, for example, to prepare for admission to courses. Time passed, and Martin didn't notice that he fell asleep, dropping his head on his tablet. Okay, so it's gonna be like going between the two? Maybe we can go to a cafe or at least take a walk in the park. We spent all our time inside, after all. I'm tired of it. Karen, you know that? I hardly even see my parents, and I'm fine with that. I don't really like places with living people. Well, you're supposed to colonize the planet. Well, then let's go to the morgue. Almost all the people there are dead. Interesting suggestion, and what do you mean by almost all the people? Okay. Lana shuddered. Well, some jokes her friends has, and that's given her light and cheerful personality. A strange combination, of course, but Lana had already gotten used to it during their strange friendship. But it's so silent there. One might think that you're intimidated by people. You're always alone. You don't need anything except the terminal under your nose. That's a lie. I have you. By the way, why are you making an exception for me? After all, I'm also quite a living person, and not your favorite spare part in the garage. Come on. It's not like I'm being obsessive. It was you who hacked my account and then made me meet you IRL. Have you forgotten already? Doesn't hurt saying that it all happened because it was me who played songs about loneliness and how good it is to have friends for a couple of days. You could thank me at least. What the hell, dude? Right now I'm kinda confused by what's going on. Karen, who didn't hear the quiet grunt of the alarm clock, was embarrassed by Lana's words, but it didn't last too long. After a moment, she shook her hair out of her face fervently and narrowed her eyes slyly. That doesn't count. You don't mind, do you? I don't mind now. I don't even know what I would do without you. I still think that hacking an account is not the best way to find a friend, even if it worked once. Don't change the subject. Why don't you want to hang out with other people? Lana was silent for a while, gathering her thoughts. But really, why? Because she doesn't feel excited around them? Because they're not like her? Right. That's closer to the truth. Because they're all the same. They are taught from childhood that the goal of their life is to get to the planet and work there for the sake of future generations, in unrealistically difficult conditions, and they're all happily looking forward to it. So you don't want that? But that's wrong. Those are the thoughts of a weakling and a deviant. Lana regretted that she confessed her incorrect thoughts at first, but she felt uncertainty in her friend's voice. Do you also dream of joining the settlers' party and leaving the station? Answer honestly, we're friends, aren't we? Karen suddenly blushed and even looked away. The question was pretty indecent, something like, do you pick your nose and look at the boogers too? No, I want to stay at the station. Everything here is so familiar, close. I know every corner of the network. I can get any information and access any mechanism. It violates the rules, but it makes things more interesting that way. So you understand me? Well, yeah, probably that's why they're actually friends. Well, that's why we became friends. Birds of a feather flock together. There is no such idiom. Now there is. Lana and Karen exchanged glances and laughed at the same time. No matter how much they shunned people, having a person who understands and accepts you is still very important. True. The alarm clock sighed sadly on the shelf. If it really were intelligent, it would be very lonely right now. Poor alarm clock. Okay, so basically we're going to switch between the two. Martin was awakened by ringing. The screen was black. The caller had not turned on the light in his room or taped the camera with something, which means it was them, the kidnappers. Martin yawned and stretched his shoulders. Speak up. I'm ready to consider your demands, but let's be reasonable. I'm not going to break the law. If I do, your blackmail will lose its meaning because then I won't get a place in the courses. In the dark, someone fidgeted and whispered. It was clear that all the participants in the abduction were involved in the conversation, and it seemed these were not the smartest representatives of the college if they didn't think about such obvious things in advance. Yes, you're right. Then we will choose a traditional scheme. Have you invited anyone to prom yet? Martin stifled a sigh of relief. He was lucky. He will only be forced to go to the prom with some girl with a non-standard appearance, so that their couple will look comical. Martin shook his head. I'm not going to any prom. I don't have time for all this nonsense. I need to prepare for admission to the courses. Just don't overplay it. Let them think that he is dissatisfied with the choice of punishment. Let them think that they made the right choice and he really does not like what he is being forced to do. Then he's saved. It won't be difficult for him to go after any girl. He's smart, handsome, and athletic. It is unlikely that some unpopular girl will actively refuse an invitation to go to the prom with him. And he's full of himself. What a combination. The dark shadows stirred again, giggled, and began to whisper. So they didn't even choose a candidate for the plan? Or did they? We've been thinking. You can easily cope with the seduction of any ugly girl. She will be happy if she's invited by the most successful guy in college. That being said, Martin's heart skipped a bit. It seems he underestimated these guys. They've conceived something non-standard. But in any case, he needs to keep a good poker face. Although, no, on the contrary, he hurriedly made a scared face. Now, that's not really a scared face. I think they should have added more animations to the game. I wanted to say that in the first story as well, but yeah, it's kinda obvious. Invite Lana, the technician from your class. You should know her. She always walks around with goggles around her neck, and she doesn't talk with people much. And by the way, she avoids any social events. Okay, I kinda thought that this is the candidate. What are the chances that Karen is actually the one who made it possible? And of course, she must not find out about our arrangement. That's how it should be. I think you know even more about graduation traditions than we do. Alright, over and out. The screen went black and Martin felt that the fright on his face was not so fake. They really figured out how to get him. An unsociable sociopath is not the easiest of targets. What should he do? Martin gritted his teeth and plopped on the bed. Instead of preparing for admission, he will have to figure out how to approach some savage girl now. But there may not be an approach at all. He's in trouble now. Okay, stop. When did he become so pessimistic? He never gives up. Martin turned on the terminal again and started searching for information about his future partner to the prom. It's not the end of the world at all. It's just dancing. His nerves quickly calmed down. He's got a problem he needs to solve, that's all. And he will do it, because he always wins in everything. He's the best. Oh man. Karen, did you do that? Karen pulled Lana out of the torture chambers that are her home, and they walked down the street and talked quietly. Lana kept squinting at the huge disk of the planet, which occupied almost the entire sky, and tried to understand something. Does she like the planet or not? From here, from the station, it seemed magnificent. It seemed to have some kind of reliability, as if it sheltered people above from all the dangers of space or even the universe. I mean, the atmosphere? But for some reason, Lana didn't want to go down to it together with the next settlers. It would be better if all the people moved to its surface and only they remained at the station. Lana and Karen. Oh, what a life that would be. However, Lana was well aware that the two of them would definitely not be able to cope with even 1% of all the equipment that provided conditions for life at the surface of the station. After all, the station is such a complex device, and indeed, for all its inhabitants, it was a whole world. On almost the entire surface there is a layer of soil on which gardens grow and houses stand. The station was created in the form of a piece of the ancestral homeland, and people live on it as if it is their native Earth, just Earth without any numbers there. You're frozen again. Just you wait, I'm really going to find the reset button, and if people look at us after hearing your shrieks, it's not my fault. What, again? Stop it! Lana jumped away from her friend and put out her palms, protecting herself from tickling. It's okay at home, but not on the street. There are people here. Karen giggled and lowered her hands. Relax, I was joking. But don't switch off anymore or you'll crash into a tree. I was just thinking that someday the terraforming will be completed and all the people will move to the planet. The station will be completely deserted and it would be nice to stay on it together. What are you staring at? Quite an obvious thought. I think about it sometimes too. But we'll still miss people, and we'll never meet any guys. We won't start a family. Lana almost tripped. Wow, she always thought that Karen didn't need anyone else. She hadn't even thought about starting their own families. Her friend had probably matured after all, and Lana hadn't. Do you like any guys? Maybe someone from our class? I'll never believe that you've never looked at anyone. It's not normal. Ha! Look who's talking about normal. Aha! Look how quickly you looked away. You like someone. Tell me, who is it? Nobody. I don't like anyone, okay? You're lying, I can see it. Fine, if you don't want to, don't tell me. I'll guess. You like the technician guy who's into old gliders, right? Though his look is so... He's always dirty, covered in engine oil. Okay, I see that I didn't guess right. Then maybe that clown who dances well? No, there's no way. It's not your type. What about that nerd? What was his name again? Right, Martin. Lena hastily shook her head and Karen laughed and pushed her shoulder. So it's him. You only reacted to his name. I would even say overreacted a bit. You've chosen the wrong one, honey. Half of the school year is crushing over him, but he doesn't notice anyone. I haven't fallen in love with anyone, stop it. Okay, so Lena has some feeling towards Martin, and now he's supposed to ask her out. Okay, fine, don't get angry. I'm just joking. You know perfectly well how stupid my jokes are. Okay, you haven't. We don't need anyone else. Karen hugged her friend and they headed towards the house. Lana couldn't stop thinking about it. Did she really like Martin? No, that can't be. She had never even thought about it. And if she had such a thought, but she never found an answer. Okay, now she's confused, I guess. Okay, does she really like him? The task turned out not to be the easiest one. She was pretty. Martin remembered her, albeit vaguely. You can't win such a girl's heart at the spur of the moment. Yes, and her being a sociopath, her unwillingness to communicate with people. To begin with, he decided to look at her friends list in her account, but it turned out to be empty. It can't be, he thought, but then realized that he himself was a vivid example of the same issue. He focused on his studies. There was no time for friends. Okay, so they're kinda similar in this case. All his acquaintances are the few customers of the family's cafe. Only a few thousand people lived at the station, and it was only a couple of kilometers in diameter, so people didn't have much choice on where to have lunch. His father hardly ever visited the place, so all the work fell on the shoulders of his son, and he sometimes exchanged a few words with regular customers, the museum director, a planetary transport designer, a famous breeder, but no one became his friend. Just interesting people to whom he served dishes and, embarrassed, took tips from. He'd been saving for a nice, neat suit to impress the admissions committee with. You can hide your friends in your friend list. And so Martin decided to check that section too. He was well versed in security systems, which means he could bypass them, but turned out the defense had been strengthened. This is getting interesting. Someone actually went out and added additional, non-standard modules. This task has ceased to feel routine. Martin got carried away, fought for a long time with their cunning traps, and won. The list really turned out to have hidden friends. More precisely, only one friend, Karen. Her profile specialty was related to information technology. So that's who strengthened Lana's defense. Martin struggled a little more with the temptation to read their chat logs, but realized that his conscience would definitely not agree with this. There was no need for it. He had enough information. From the initial course of social psychology, Martin remembered that the most likely way to interest a girl is with the help of a friend. So we need to interest Karen, and the easiest way to do that is by hacking. He's already done that, and probably left some traces. Well, now we can try to benefit from this blunder. Pretend that he had left the traces on purpose to leave her some message. By the way, the message can also be encrypted. Let her get carried away just like him. Wreck her brain. Perhaps then it will be easier to find a common language with her, on the basis of information technologies and their means of protection. Martin plunged into his work, forgetting that it was already the middle of the night. After all, he no longer has to get up for class, and his father's cafe only opens at lunchtime. Martin brought a full pot of coffee and his favorite mug from the kitchen, and returned to solving the problem of having his first relationship with a girl. Okay, I guess it's getting interesting. Lena was suffering from the heat. It's strange that other people get used to it so quickly. Maybe there's something wrong with her. Why is she forced to suffer under the jets of air from the split system? This time she couldn't think about anything, so she heard when someone broke into her room. Naturally, it was Karen. There was no one else who would. Okay, yeah, okay. Lena, honey, you won't believe it. This is some kind of wild coincidence. Guess who hacked your account? You? And I'm still suffering from the consequences of this brazen hacking. You're wrong. I mean, yes, I was the first, but today your private data was violated by someone else. Try guessing. I won't even think about it. Anyway, leave me alone. I'm busy suffering. What a great activity! If only they would pay you for it. We could be rich. Well, okay. I like this clock. The burn was real. You lazy bones. You'll miss your happiness this way. It was Martin. You're kidding, right? Who is he, by the way? Damn, why does no one ever pay attention to me? Do they think it's a radio station muttering something? Worried Karen missed the clock's quiet remark. Perhaps she did indeed treat it like talk radio. What, Martin? Wait, what? Have I been hacked? They dug into my personal data? That's the thing. No, he bypassed the protection, both standard and my personal, enhanced one, but he didn't look at any data, only left some traces. And when I followed the trail, wow, he's really something. I didn't sleep half the night while I went through all his tricks. He's a real pro. I think I'm in love. But there was a message waiting for me at the end. Do you know what it was? Yes, I know, of course. I'm just pretending to be sleepy and not understand anything. He asked what kind of flowers you like. And what kind of flowers do you like? Not me, silly. You. He asked about you. What kind of flowers do you like? Lena shook her head, but it didn't really help. The situation has not become clearer. What flowers? Who asked whom? What for? Meanwhile, Karen calmed down a little and repeated everything again, in detail, and clearly this time. Maybe you should say everything again, just in case someone didn't hear right. Lena was shocked. Only one question remained. Why would he do that? You're such a goofball. There was genuine admiration in Karen's voice for her friend's boundless stupidity. Then they heard a giggle in the room. Lena turned to the alarm clock and shushed at it. It wisely turned silent. Lana, he likes you too. They kept silent for a minute. Then Lana gathered her thoughts and looked sternly at Karen. And you told them which flowers I like, did you? How would I know? Do you like flowers at all? No, I don't like them. Well, that's what I'm talking about. The main thing is that you like each other. Why didn't he tell me himself then? Right question. Would you have told him? That's it. You're two of a kind. Two complete sociopaths. Okay, get ready. We're going to celebrate. Celebrate what, Karen? The start of your private life. Lana finally blushed embarrassedly. Okay. Martin was very grateful to Karen for the fact that she did not bombard him with even more defense mechanism and complex tasks as a reply, but simply answered the question. Otherwise, he would have had to lose another day solving them. Or miss work, which was unacceptable. His father was asleep as always. Well, it's not like he was a good owner or worker either. He lost interest in cafe long ago, since the time when Martin didn't really want to think about it. Yeah, okay, probably that's related to his mother. However, Karen's answer did not simplify the task. Lana didn't like flowers. All that her friend shared were the facts that Lana could not stand the heat and also kept busy in her workshop assembling a glider. He'd been wondering why flights under the dome have been banned for many years. However, it doesn't matter anymore. The main thing is that she has a hobby. He can make it work, but he can't do it without outside help. Who can help him? A breeder? That's unlikely. The constructor, getting warmer, but still won't do. Martin finished his last sips of coffee and went to work. The director of the museum often dines in the cafe. He has access to junky exhibits that weren't interesting to the museum visitors, that were now lying in the museum basement. I guess there's that missing. Maybe we can persuade Mr. Director to sell him something. He should say goodbye to all his savings then. Goodbye expensive suit and making a good first impression in front of the admissions committee. He put a little thinking into it and realized that he wasn't so upset about parting with money he'd been saving for so long. And he even realized why. Okay, did he realize that he actually likes the girl? Lana and Karen stood in the middle of the room and stared at a parcel that had just been delivered by a courier without a return address. For some reason, they were afraid to open it, as if there could be some kind of bump inside. I hope it's not a new alarm clock. Look who's jealous. Karen was the first to lose her temper and tore off the wrapper to see what was inside. She took out a bundle that clanked metallically, blinked in surprise and giggled. She laughed out loud. It's a bouquet of some kind. Ha ha ha, this is a bouquet of branches. Why not a bouquet of plungers? They look even more like flowers. Ha ha ha. The alarm clock giggled on the shelf. Maybe it wasn't completely intelligent, but it seemed to know what a plunger was. Perhaps the aquarium wasn't the only thing he was drowned in. Karen couldn't stop laughing, and so Lana took the bouquet from her, took out the tool, examined it, and froze with bulging eyes. When Karen noticed that something was wrong with her friend, she stopped laughing. This is the most romantic and expensive gift I could imagine. No, I could never even imagine such a thing. You mean it? Are you serious? Are all the wrenches romantic and expensive to you? Are you completely out of your mind? Look at the brand! These are the glider repair tools that once belonged to Olaf, the pioneer himself. The first one to land on the planet and build the foundation of the first terraforming installation alone, when all the rest of the staff died on landing. I remember the story. Every child knows about it. Wait, so you're saying that these are his tools? Olaf's tools? I think so. They are very ancient, and the brand is half erased. What reason is there to forge a fake set anyways? Karen blinked her pretty eyes, but could not find an answer. When Lana finally tore her eyes away from the precious bouquet of instrument, she noticed that Karen's eyes were wet. Hey girl, are you going to cry now? What's wrong with you? Why? I'm so happy for you, Lana. You haven't even met the guy in person yet, and he's already done so for you so much. Lana turned away and began to look for a place to put the wrenches for now, although in fact, she was embarrassed to show her friend that her eyes were also about to get teary. They were tears of happiness. As it turns out, a girl with an ancient glider in the garage needs very little to be happy. On the shelf by the bed, the alarm clock was sobbing softly too. This is actually sweet, but like, it's sad that the beginning of it is like a fake story. Martin, Lana, I know, me too. Oh man. Okay, this is actually can work out, I guess. They both exchanged glances and laughed. The embarrassment began to dissipate little by little. It was because of this awkwardness they said the first thing that came to their mind. How's your glider doing? It's fine, thanks. It is healthy, runs fine, but doesn't fly yet. That's too bad. All my life I dreamed of flying under the dome. Only under the dome, not in space? I hope to fly in space too, in the future, or at least during the landing. Do you dream of leaving the station? Yes, of course. Everyone dreams of it. This is what we live for. Don't you dream of it too? Lena said nothing. She didn't really want to start their first date with arguing about something she wanted to. She wasn't really sure herself, and so they sat silence. After a while, Martin finally spoke. Why don't you want to leave the station? Is it because this is our home? Or are you afraid of the difficulties that await us on the planet? I see you're very smart, but not very considerate. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I don't know what to talk about. This is my first date ever. Mine too. Martin stared at Lena in surprise. Why was he so surprised? How's that possible? You're so pretty after all. You must have so many men after you. Look who's talking. Aren't you a college star yourself? They were both embarrassed. The first compliments came out clumsy and inappropriate, but the young people were still pleased. You know, since this is our first date, we can say and do whatever we want. Neither of us knows what to do, so we won't judge each other. Precisely. And let's pretend that this is how dates usually are. It's our date, so we're the ones who get to set the rules. It's so nice to talk with an intelligent person. Let's start with something simple, like in the old books, ice cream. Oh, I love ice cream. I'm so sick of this eternal heat, and he knows that. Sometimes I want to freeze a little, just to experience it at least once. Martin still couldn't pretend that everything was as it should be. He was surprised. Somehow I didn't think that someone might not be fond of what they were used to from their birth. Well, it's a little different than that. After all, the temperature has been constantly increasing lately. Yes, you're right, but the climate on the planet differs from place to place. You can choose any climate zone, and if you get bored, you can move to another place. Imagine rain, snow, sea, forest. Lena came to a halt. Why hadn't she thought about that before? He's right. The planet is not just dangerous and unfamiliar surroundings. You can get used to anything. But what freedom! And yet I'm still scared. These are probably some kind of complexes from childhood. But I don't want to go to a psychologist. Even if his sessions change me for the better, I don't want violent changes. You don't want to become like everyone else? Okay, how did he guess? Lena hastily turned away so that he wouldn't see her fright. She felt as if he could read her like a hacked account, easily passing all the defenses. I'm afraid of that too. Now she's calmed down. After all, they are not so different. Although she's not as smart or strong-willed, not so brave, not so... What's the difference between them exactly? It seems to me that something's still wrong with this date. It's a pity that I haven't watched romantic movies and I don't know how to do it properly. In my opinion, the topic we're talking about right now seems out of place. Yes, I got that feeling too. By the way, we arrived. Wait a second, I'll get us some ice cream. Martin ran into a cafe and almost immediately came out with 2 sticks of fruit ice. Did he steal them? He definitely wouldn't have had time to pay. This is my dad's cafe. I didn't have to pay. There he is again, reading her mind. I'm not reading your mind at all. Dude. Then why do you always answer to my thoughts? Are you a Psi mutant of some kind? No, I just got that feeling that we've known each other for a very long time. I can feel you. It's different, really. Strangely, these words calmed Lena, and then she took a bite of ice cream, and the cold pierced her palate. All sorts of nonsense flew into her head. The date had become much more pleasant. Okay. It's not necessary to strive to leave the station. There would be some people left here for some time. I mean, not everyone will leave this place. It's pretty normal to live where you like to. But I don't like everything here. For example, this heat and the need to meet other people. Life isn't perfect. It's never ideal. Well, why not? In my opinion, it is sometimes. For example, you. The confession blurted out by itself. Lena did not have time to think about her words, but then she noticed that Martin turned red too. For some reason, he seemed sad at the same time. What's the matter? I'm definitely not perfect. I wish I could tell you. Why don't you tell me then? I simply can't. Not yet. My life is at stake. My dream. Then don't. Martin looked at her again with wide eyes. You really are something. Lena was already tired of being embarrassed, but this seemed like too much. She smiled. I know. Martin laughed. Okay, when they were done walking, Martin invited her to the prom. They had only met for one day, and this made what was happening seem even more magical to Lena. How quickly they became close. When they were saying goodbye, Lena felt something she had never felt before. She was drawn to the young man. She wanted to touch him, to kiss him, and a woman's instinct told her that he wanted the same thing. But he hesitated for a moment and just touched her hand, turned around impulsively and quickly walked away. Lena felt a brief pang of disappointment, but it didn't spoil the mood. After all, it was only their first date. Okay. I guess she will reveal later his motives. Like, the script actually reminds me of some movies from the 90s. Karen was waiting for Lena in her room. Overwhelmed with emotions, she hurried to share her happiness with her friend. He invited me to the prom. But when she saw her friend's face, Lena felt uneasy. She even felt a little scared. Did something happen to her parents? Or with Karen's parents? Has there been an accident? Don't freak out, okay? Now I'm really worried. Me too, but who cares? I do, Clock, I do. Tell me already, what happened? Don't scare me like that. Okay, she's behind all of it. Or not. I found out something about Martin. You won't like it. Lena felt her heart pounding. She felt her head starting to spin. He didn't invite you to the prom because he wanted to. He did it so... Okay, let me tell you everything. Actually, I'm a romantic girl, even though I'm used to spending more time with the terminal, but something alerted me to Martin's behavior. He began to pursue you a little too suddenly. And so I hacked his only account. Apparently, he got a call from one of the terminals at the biological college, from a dark room so that no faces could be seen. Spill it already. He was recently kidnapped. He's the best of the year after all. You know, there is a tradition. Yes, I think I understand now. He was being blackmailed, and I was the ugly girl he was supposed to invite to the prom so that everyone would laugh at him. Come on, you are nothing like that, Lena. You're a real beauty. Her hand is pretty heavy. This time, Karen heard what the clock said and perked up. Who is that? The alarm clock. Hey you! Furniture! You'd better shut up! I'm not furniture, I have nothing to do with activities. Then the alarm clock went silent. You're just not very good with people. I see, I'm difficult prey, but he did it so easily, literally, in one day. Martin really is the best at everything. I did some work on the biology faculty server and checked who entered the room from where Martin was called. Then I hacked their accounts and checked their chat logs. Apparently, those imbeciles kept the film and photos in one of their lockers. Here. Karen handed her friend a package. Inside was rare photographic film and real paper photographs. Why would I need those? Why do you think? So you can take revenge on him? You can blackmail him yourself now. Or smash him into a wall. Or push him into an aquarium. Okay, someone has a painful experience. A trauma. The alarm clock said it in a whisper and no one paid attention to it. After all, he was a rather delicate clock to interfere with a conversation at such a tragic moment. Blackmail? Who did you take me for, girl? To be honest, Lena had an idea, but only for a mere moment, and it caused outrage. Karen got embarrassed and looked away. She felt really uncomfortable. Sorry, I'm probably just thinking about myself and what I would do. But you think about it, okay? She just waved her hand. Karen went home and Lena felt that her strength had left her, and her happiness along with it. They've been in a relationship for just a single day, but she felt grief and sadness as if they'd lived their whole lives together. I actually thought that she would figure this out after the prom, or during the prom. But actually that's like pretty cool what her friend did. Lana started crying and she cried almost until the morning. Martin didn't understand what had happened. Lena met him with exaggerated coldness. She refused to go for a walk. Instead, she asked him to help her study the arts, which she knew little about. He gladly agreed, of course, and enthusiastically read her poems of earthly poets. She did not react in any way, only briefly answered questions on the topics covered, and he didn't dare to ask Lena what was the matter. A few days passed this way. Visits to see Lena began to feel like a burden for him. Martin was at a loss. He even thought that she might have learned about the blackmail, but it wasn't confirmed in any way. He couldn't ask her directly, he was too scared. One evening she asked him to visit her place earlier than usual. I can't do it, I have things to do. Lena didn't know what his business might be. After all, class was over anyway. Was it something personal, or maybe his meeting with his kidnappers? She decided to follow him. But first she asked Karen to get her an antique camera with film. It seemed right to plant a film with photos of Martin's meeting with his enemies in the place where the previous one was dropped off. But Martin wasn't meeting anyone, he worked. He served food and drinks to the cafe's visitors, smiled, exchanged a few words with them, and they smiled back at him. Hating him had become quite a difficult task. She took out her camera and took some pictures. Although she did not understand why she was doing it, well, we all know why. It was as if something compelled her, probably the smiles of the visitors and Martin's peaceful face. And then in the evening, he closed the cafe and went to the nearest bar. He came out very quickly, carrying a man on his back. The man kept singing songs and praising Martin in a drunken voice, his father. What a good son I have. A dad as bad as myself doesn't deserve it. Ah, if only your mom could see you now. Yeah. Second clue to what happened to his mother. Once home, she asked Karen to develop the film and throw it into the kidnapper's locker. But she was still angry with Martin. He had deceived her, albeit under duress. He made her believe that he liked her, and it hurt badly. I don't know what happened to you, but I want to cheer you up. Let's take a walk to one of my favorite places today. I assure you, you'll like it. Studying can wait. Just don't be late. I want that lady home for dinner. Daddy clock. Martin shuddered and looked around, but Lena's parents were nowhere to be found. She wanted to refuse, but couldn't think of a reason without casting any suspicion on her, and she agreed. You'd better take some warm clothes. It's pretty cool today. Now, he'd intrigued her completely. It was stupid to refuse such an adventure, no matter what the reasons were. Warm clothes? No way! I don't think anyone still has them anyway. Somehow it cheered her up, although it's clearly why an adventure and some coolness. She didn't ask for details, let it be a surprise. It's more interesting this way. Okay, what's gonna happen? They rode the transport for a while and then got off at the elevator towers. Lena thought that they would go down to the technical lower decks, but the elevator took them somewhere up. For a while, they made their way through the dark, abandoned corridors. This continued until they approached an open door, behind which fainted glimmers of light. Martin gently pushed her and it turned out to be an observation deck. Bright stars shone through a huge window panel. Okay. The imitation of the Earth's sky had been disabled here, or rather, it wasn't part of the station's dome, but just a window in the ceiling. The huge beautiful disk of Earth 4, the sight took Lena's breath away. So beautiful here. Martin was silent. He was also looking at the stars and the planet. Lena felt a shiver. Oh, it's really cold here. So that's why. They were silent for a long time, admiring such a close and beautiful space. It seemed as if they had left the station and were spinning in the cold, starry void. I think I'm ready to forgive you now. Forgive me? For what? I know you were blackmailed and you had to pretend to like me. Pretend? So you think I was faking it? The young man gritted his teeth in the semi-darkness and angrily hit the wall with his fist. Something creaked inside. There was noise and a thud. Oh, the door closed. It's malfunctioning. He bent down, grabbed the edge, exhaled, and his soul slid across the floor. Damn, I can't lift it. We're locked in. I'm such an idiot. A chill ran down Lena's spine, not from the cool air, but the chill of horror. They're locked in. They may die. And not on the planet, but here at the station cause of old, worn-out equipment. At that moment, Lena clearly realized that the whole station would soon turn into non-working, life-threatening junk. Her world was slowly dying. The station had outlived its purpose and was ceasing to exist. The cold filled her skin more and more. As it turned out, it might be pretty unpleasant. Even worse than that cursed heat. Lena sobbed. I'm scared and cold. It's funny, my dream is fulfilled, but I don't like it now. I want to go back to the warm. Martin came close to her and put his arm around her shoulders, holding his body closer to her. It became noticeably warmer. I'm here with you, don't be afraid. We'll figure something out. I'm the best of the best, remember? And you are an outstanding technician. They stood like that for a while, warming up, then separated and began to examine the walls and the door. No, the control panel is not powered from here. If anything can be done, it can only be done from outside. Who the hell builds like that? A slightly winded Martin approached her. He had tried to lift the edge of the door with his hands again. Then they embraced each other again and went silent for a long time. So did you really like me or did you invite me under duress? Under duress? Lena tried to pull away, but the young man pressed her even tighter to him. But as soon as I saw your photo, I realized that I really like you. And the more I got to know you, the more I fell in love. The word was said. Lena felt hot. But this heat was pleasant, unlike the eternal suffocating heat of the station. I fell in love with you too. Oh, my palms are completely frozen. Well, it's actually sweet. Let's hope they will be okay. Martin pulled her palms to him and began to breathe on them, warming them. It was so nice. Lena watched him trying to give her his warmth, and he seemed so beautiful in the twilight, in the glow of millions of stars. Well, this is a nice place to have your first kiss. Bad timing when you can kinda freeze to that, but okay, let's hope everything will be okay. Before they knew it, they reached out to each other and touched each other's lips. Lena completely forgot about the cold and about the heat and about the stupid dying station. It was her first kiss. Their first kiss. Why does everyone say go down to the planet, as if to hell? She's above us, above. Now if they said ascend, as if to heaven, then it would sound much more tempting. By the way, why are you so eager to go there? More than anyone else on the station. My mom's there. Okay, so she's alive. Okay. She went down to Earth 4, leaving my dad and me. I want to tell her. Drat, I don't even know what I want to tell her. That he made the wrong choice or she made the right one because our lives now depend on her? And the lives of all the settlers who will also come down to the planet sooner or later. She's preparing a new home for us, making it cozy, saving all the people in the system. My father couldn't take it, and he began drinking. Yes, I saw you carrying him home. Really? You know, I told him about you then, about what happened to me and that I fell in love with you. Lena leaned even closer to Martin. If this were their last hours, then she'd glad they are together. She felt calmer. The fear receded a little. In response, he told me that he met my mom the same way. He was the best in his class too, and he got abducted. He didn't want to disappoint her, so he never told her about it. Eventually, he fell in love with her. He fell in love so much that he couldn't bear their parting. If it wasn't for me, he would have killed himself. It sounds strange to refuse to live because you parted with the person whom you fell in love with against your will, but now I can understand him. Oh man, this is actually sad. They were silent for a long time again. Lena almost stopped feeling her fingers and Martin tried to warm them with his breath again. Damn the failed automation of this damn station. Why now? Something creaked behind the wall. There was a cracking noise, and then all of a sudden the door rumbled upward. Now there was a silhouette standing behind her. Karen! Finally, I found you! I had to check the tracker's logs when your beacons disappeared from the network coverage area. Lena's alarm clock was worried that she had disappeared somewhere, so I also felt uneasy. Okay, we all need friend like Karen. She's actually awesome. What are you even doing here? And why did you lock yourself up? Are you doing some naughty stuff? Lena and Martin rushed to Karen together, hugged her, and started kissing her at random places. They were so happy that they had escaped that. She began to struggle. Hey, stop you perverts! Don't drag me into your dirty orgies. I'm a modest girl. Okay, yeah, this is funny. But yeah, I can understand why they reacted like that. Probably if you have a couple of hours to try and survive, the person that saves you becomes your hero. Lena was the first to start giggling, then Martin joined her, and after some time all three were laughing loudly, standing in an embrace in the dark, abandoned corridor of the station. You know, I'm not afraid to leave our home anymore. After all, a new one is waiting for us. It is much bigger and, I think, more interesting. Karen and Martin exchanged glances and simultaneously kissed her on both cheeks. Okay, this is actually nice. A message signal beeped on the terminal. Martin opened it and read it quickly. We've been looking at your photos. Please don't get angry at us. We didn't mean anything bad. Don't hold it against us. You're kidnappers. He thought about the answer for a second before typing a couple of lines. Thank you for what you did. Now I'm going to the surface with my girlfriend. We will fly a glider all over Earth for a long time, all our lives. Then he smiled and pressed the send button. And that's how it was, pals. That's how I saved 2 lives and 1 big love. So don't be afraid to finish your program. That doesn't mean it's over. Perhaps on the contrary, that's where your real life begins. And don't be offended when they call you mean names. Like they understand anything, those people. Okay, so this is... okay, the end. So basically the story was from the point of view of the clock, kinda. Well, yeah. Not really, but I like this clock. Okay. That was kinda interesting, overall. I mean, I had the feeling that it was based on 90s romantic comedies and stuff like that. In the future, with some nice touch to it. But yeah, that was a nice story. Hope you enjoyed, and see you on the next one.